Okay, so in this video we're going to be having a look at proportion in context. Now for the majority of the video we're going to be focusing on direct proportion, but right at the end we are just going to have a little look at inverse proportion, which as well is going to be linked in the description below. So with that being said, let's get started. Okay, so our first question. Now this question here says that 3 kilograms of cheese costs £54, and it says that Alice buys 2 kilograms of the cheese. Work out how much Alice pays. So when we're looking at direct proportion like this, we want to break it down into a single unit. Now the units in this question are in regards to kilograms, and it says that we have 3 kilograms that cost £54. So to break this down into a single unit, we're going to break it down into a cost for 1 kilogram. So to get the cost for 1 kilogram, well, if 3 kilograms is 54, then we would need to divide it by 3. And for some of these questions you may have a calculator, but we'll assume that this can be done without one. So we need to do 54 divided by 3 to get the cost of 1 kilogram. So if we do a little bit of division, 3 into 5 goes once, remainder 2, and 3 into 24 goes 8. So that working out there has figured out that 1 kilogram is equal to £18. Now of course we don't want to get 1 kilogram because the question says here that Alice buys 2 kilograms. So in order to get to 2 kilograms, all we need to do is multiply that by 2. So if we multiply both sides here by 2, just to visualize this, we'll get that 2 kilograms is going to be equal to 36. And again, you can do some working out for that if you need to do 18 times 2 using some multiplication. But we get a final answer there, and the final answer is 36. Of course, this is about money, so our answer would be £36, but there we go, there is our final answer. Okay, so let's have a look at another question. So as you've already seen with the first question, our whole process here is to get the cost of 1. And in this particular question, it says that 8 identical pencil cases cost £12, and we want to work out the cost of 10. So this time we are going to get the cost of 1 pencil case, but this time we have 8. So we need to actually do £12, the amount, divided by 8, and that is going to leave us with a decimal. So for this one here, we just need to be careful when we do our division because we're doing 8s into 12. Now hopefully you can already spot that that's not going to fit in perfectly, so I'm going to add some decimal places afterwards as well. So 8 fits into 12 once with a remainder of 4. So carrying the decimal up, 8 fits into 45 times, and because this is money, I'll add the 0 on at the end as well, because that's worked out that 1 pencil case is equal to £1.50. So if I put 1, and I'll put PC for pencil case, and that is equal to £1.50, and this question here wants us to work out the cost of 10. So to get the cost of 10, we would multiply both of these by 10, and that would give us our total cost. So for 10 pencil cases, and again, this is quite a nice one because multiplying by 10, we can just hop the decimal over the 5, so it becomes 15.00. And obviously writing that in terms of money, that is a cost of £15. So that is how we're going to go about answering these questions. So for both of the questions that you're going to practice, you need to work out the cost of 1 in whatever regards the question is about, and then you can work out the cost of however many it's asking for. But you always need to make sure you go back to 1. So let's have a look at some questions for you to have a go at. Okay, so here's your 2 questions. They are very similar to the ones that we've just looked at. So pause the video there, have a go at these 2. We'll go over the answers in a second. Okay, so for the first one, we've got 5 kilograms of jam costs £45, and Alice buys 3 kilograms, work out the cost. So to get the cost of 1 kilogram, we would do 45 and divide it by 5. So for the working out here, 45 divided by 5, you should hopefully be able to do that without using division because that is only a single digit answer. The answer is 9, so we're not going to need that working out for this particular one, but always there if you need it. So that is going to be a cost of £9. We now need to work out the cost of 3 kilograms of the jam, so we would multiply that by 3. So 3 kilograms is going to be equal to 9 times 3, which is equal to £27. And there is our final answer for our first question. On to the next one. Very similar to our second question, 6 identical t-shirts cost £27, work out the cost of 10. So again we need to do some division here. And again, you're going to see that when we divide £27 by 6, we are going to get a decimal. 6 fits into 24 4 times with a remainder of 3. So when it goes into 27, we're going to have that remainder of 3 to carry over, so we need to hop the decimal back up there, and then 6 goes into 35 times. Again, this is money, so that is £4.50. So the cost of one t-shirt, if I put 1TS, is equal to £4.50. Now again, this is wanting the cost of 10 t-shirts, and 10 is always quite a nice one, particularly when we're practicing, because we can do that relatively quickly by just hopping the decimal. So we get the cost of 10 t-shirts is going to be equal to £45. And there we go, £45, and that would be 0 pence afterwards, but we could just write that as 45. So there we go, that is some direct proportion. Now what we're going to have a look at is some slightly trickier ones, similar to the ones that we saw on the screen at the start of the video. Okay, so let's read through this question. It says here that 5 boxes of cereal have a total weight of 1,750 grams. It then says that 4 boxes of cereal and 3 sachets of sugar have a total weight of 1,490 grams. Work out the total weight of 3 boxes of cereal and 2 sachets of sugar. So this question's different because we have 2 different variables. We have the cereal and we have the sugar. So we need to figure out one of them first, and let's have a think about which one we can work out straight away. Because that first line just says about one of the variables, it just says 5 boxes of cereal have a total weight of 1,750. So we can work out one of the boxes by dividing that by 5. So let's just have a think. We've got 5 boxes is equal to 1,750. So our first step to get the weight of one box would be to divide that by 5. So we will divide it by 5 and we'll do our working out to the side. So 1,750 divided by 5, well 5 goes into 17 3 times, remainder 2, goes into 25 5 times, and then 0 at the end. So the weight of one box is going to be 350. Of course this is in grams. And the final part of the question, which we don't have to work out straight away, but it wants us to ultimately work out the weight of 3 boxes. So straight away we could multiply this by 3, and again you could work this out at the end once you've got the singular weight for both, but we may as well just straight away times that. So 3 boxes, and that is going to be 3 times 350. 2 times 350 is 700, add another 350 is 1050. Again, you could spend some time just adding 3 of them together using column addition or multiplying it by 3, but there we go, we have the weight for 3. So let's get rid of this working out and move on to our next piece of information. So the next part is obviously we have the sachets of sugar. So for this second line here, it says that 4 boxes of cereal and 3 sachets of sugar have a total weight of 1,490. Well, if we work out the weight of 4 boxes of cereal, as we know the weight of 1, then we could have a look at working out therefore what the weight of the 3 sachets of sugar are going to weigh. So if one box is equal to 350, 4 of those boxes is going to be 1,400 grams. And obviously it says in the question that the weight, including the 3 sachets of sugar, is 1,490 grams. So that is going to be adding another 90 grams. So those 3 sachets of sugar are equal to 90 grams. So we can write that down. So 3 sachets is equal to 90. Of course, we want to break that down and go back to 1 sachet. So we can divide that by 3. So if we divide that by 3, we're going to get that 1 sachet is equal to 30. There we go. And obviously the question here, and we'll swap colour again, wants us to work out the weight of 2 sachets of sugar. So we can straight away multiply that by 2. And if we multiply that by 2, we're going to get that 2 sachets is equal to 60. And that is the second part of our answer. Now, of course, this question here said work out the total weight of 3 boxes and 2 sachets. So we're going to want to finish this off by writing the total weight. And that is to take our 1,050 and our 60 and add them together. So for our final answer, we'd do 1,050 plus the 60, and that is equal to 1,110. And that is in grams, and that is our final answer. So quite a lot going on in that question. Obviously we had to work out the weight of one of the variables, then we used that to help us find the weight of the other one, and then once we'd found the weight of a singular amount for both, we were able to multiply them and work out the total weight for 3 of the boxes and 2 of the sachets. So that's what you're going to have a go at practicing now, but again, just remembering for each one you need to go back to a singular unit weight, or whatever the question's about. So let's have a look at a question for you. Okay, so here's your 2 questions. As you can see, they're quite long, so you need to write them down. So pause the video there, have a go at these, and we'll go over the answers in just a sec. Okay, so on to our first question. Now the information here says that 3 jars of paprika and 4 packets of basil have a weight of 290. So we can't use that straight away, but we can use this second piece of information that says that 7 jars of paprika has a total weight of 210. So if we write that down, the fact that we have 7 jars, which is equal to 210, then we need to divide that by 7. So if we divide that by 7, 1 jar comes out as 30. Now for our question here, we're actually looking for the weight of 2 jars, so we could work that out straight away, and that is that 2 jars is going to be equal to 60. Now that's the answer we want for half that question there. Now we can go back to that first bit of information where it tells us, and let's just have a look, it says 3 jars of paprika and 4 packets of basil have a total weight of 290 grams. So let's just focus on that bit now. So for 3 jars of paprika, let's have a look, we can work that out because we've already worked out that 1 jar of paprika is 30, 3 jars of paprika will be equal to 90. Now we need to figure out what is the difference between 90 and the 290 that we're looking at. So to get to 290, that would be an additional 200 grams, and that was for 4 packets of basil. So 4 packs is going to be equal to that additional 200 grams. And we'll just write that down here so you know where we got that 200 grams from. So that is to get plus 200. So if 4 packs is equal to 200, if we divide that by 4, 1 pack will be equal to 50. And again, you can do your working out to the side. Now in this question, it obviously wants 2 jars of paprika and 2 packets of basil. Well, we've already got the 2 jars of paprika, so for 2 packs of basil, we would need to multiply that by 2, and 2 packs will be equal to 100. So that is the piece we're looking at for this question. So we'll take our 2 pieces. We've got 60 grams for the 2 jars, plus 100 grams for the 2 packs, and in total that is equal to 160 grams, and that's the final answer for that part. Okay, so moving on to the next question, we've got 6 tins of soup have a total weight of 2,400, so we can use that straight away. So if 6 tins is equal to 2,400, then how do we get to 1 tin? Well, we divide by 6. So 1 tin, and you can spend your time dividing here, 24 divided by 6 is 4, so that comes out as 400. And then for this particular question, it wants us to work out 4 tins. So to get 4 tins, we would multiply that by 4. 4 times 400 is 1,600. And I'll underline that because that's part of the question that we want. So moving on to the next part, we have now been told that 4 tins of soup and 5 bread rolls have a total weight of 2,350. So we already have the 4 tins, as we've just worked that out, so we don't need to change that. We've got 4 tins was 1,600, and then what's the difference from 1,600 to the 2,350? Well, it's an extra 400 to get to 2,000, plus an extra 350, so that is an extra 750. So for our 5 bread rolls, and we can write this down, 5 bread is equal to 750, and we need to divide that by 5 in order to find the weight of 1 bread roll. So 1 bread roll is going to be equal to, we'll probably want to do some working out for that, 750 divided by 5, 5 goes into 7 once, remainder 2, 25 5 times, and then 0. So 1 bread roll is equal to 150. Right, just so we've got enough space, I'll get rid of that. And now we can work out the weight of what the question's asking. And it wanted 4 tins of soup, which we already have, and 3 bread rolls. So to get 3 bread rolls, we need to multiply that by 3, and 150 times 3 is 450. So we've got the other piece that we needed, and that was 450. So now we just need to add them both together. So we take our 1,600, we add our 450, and we end up with our total, which is 2,050 grams. And there we go, we've got our two answers, 160 for the first one, 2,050 for the second one, and that is the end of those questions. Okay, so we've had a good look here at direct proportion. We had a look with one variable and we've had a look now with two variables. Now, as I mentioned, we are going to have a look at inverse proportion, so let's have a look at one of those now. Okay, so this is something which is in inverse proportion. So if we have a look at this, it says it takes 12 workers 5 days to complete a job. Work out how many days it would take 3 workers. Well, the reason this is different to direct proportion is when we looked at direct proportion, if we were saying, let's imagine that we were buying 5 items, well, 3 items would cost less, or the number would go down that we're working with. So here, if we're looking at the workers, does it make sense that if we do less, or if we have less workers, the amount of days would decrease? Because that doesn't make any sense. If we have less workers and less people working on a job, then it's going to take longer. So actually, as we decrease the amount of workers here, the actual amount of time is going to have to go up. And that word inverse means to do something in reverse. And that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're going to do the process completely in reverse. So if 12 workers, and we're going to write this down, 12 workers is equal to 5 days, then how long would 1 worker take? Because ultimately we're always trying to get back to that singular amount. So 1 worker, instead of what we would do before, which is to divide by 12, this time what we actually have to do is multiply by 12. And that is going to take our amount of days to a different amount. So obviously on the left here we are actually dividing by 12, but we do the opposite to the other side. So we're going to times it by 12. And that is because, obviously, that we're going to have 1 worker, then it's going to take 12 times longer, because normally they would have had 12 people doing the job. So the 5 days that it would take 12 workers is actually going to go to 60 days for 1 worker. This now allows us to work out the amount of time it would take for 3 workers. So on the left here, as we are multiplying this by 3, we're going to do the opposite to the other side. So as we have 3 workers, it's going to take us less days than having 1 worker, and it's going to be 3 times as fast. So we're going to divide by 3. So our 60 days ultimately ends up being 20 days. So as you can see, this is quite a bit trickier than direct proportion, because as we multiplied on the left and divided by 12 to get the amount of time for 1 worker, we multiplied the amount of time by 12, which was the opposite to obviously dividing by 12. The same when we were multiplying the workers, we then divided the amount of time. So this topic here can be found quite confusing. So again, if you are struggling on this one or to understand that concept, I would suggest having a look at the full video. You are going to have a practice question, so you never know, you might be okay with this topic straight away, but it's definitely worth checking out the full video because there's also some elements to this that you need to think about. One of those being that this is only going to work if all the workers work at the same rate. Obviously, if we have 1 worker that isn't working very well, then potentially the time could take longer, or it could take less if we obviously have a very good worker. But there we go, that is the concept. Let's have a look at a question for you to have a go at. Okay, so this is the very last question. It said it would take 120 minutes to fill up a garden pond using water from 5 taps. How many minutes will it take to fill the pond if only 2 taps are used? So see if you can figure this out. Obviously, if you're struggling, you do have the full video to go to, but see if you can answer this one. Pause the video there, we'll go over the answer in a sec. Okay, so it takes 120 minutes. There we go. When we have 5 taps. Now I've decided to write this in a slightly different way here because obviously we are going to have on the right now going down to 1 tap. So we're going to go down to 1 tap, which is dividing by 5. And that means we're going to have to multiply by 5 on the other side. 1 tap is going to take longer, it's going to take 5 times longer than the 12. 5 times 120 is equal to 600. So that's going to take 600 minutes. Now for the next step, we want to know if only 2 taps are used, how long would it take? So to get to 2 taps, we would multiply this side by 2, which obviously gives us our 2 taps. And that means that on the left here, our time is going to decrease by 2. So we are going to divide it by 2. So that's going to give us in total 300 minutes. And again, we are making some assumptions here that all the taps run at the same rate. And of course, if they don't, it could take longer or it could take more time than the 300 minutes. But there we go, that is our final answer, and that is a little bit of inverse proportion just to give you an introduction to that. And again, I'll link the video for that in the description. So I hope you found this video useful and helpful. If you did, please like, please comment, please subscribe, and I'll see you for the next one.